The four I identified as in my mind, the most influential on the way our country has been structured include patriarchy, and then individualism, and materialism, and then racism. And I do think they all intersect.
Patriarchy, individualism, materialism, and racism. And so because we're sort of in the moment of COVID and we're in the moment of this uprising and the protests, and we've also sort of been also holding the Me Too movement, if you will, which is the accountability around patriarchy. And also I remember the last conversation that we had for my podcast, we were talking about, climate change, global warming, the way in which, that is really a big accountability for all of us that I think plays into the materialism piece that you've just mentioned. Perhaps we can start with the most obvious one, if you will, around Black Lives Matter and racism. Talk a little bit about how internal family systems and parts work can help us work with the part of us that may harbor racist beliefs, even if we don't really quite want to acknowledge even the wisdom in that sacred little being, as you say.
Right. Yeah. So that's been a strong interest of mine for the last 5 years or so. And I've experimented working with individuals and groups, helping people find that the part that carries those racist burdens. And most of the groups I've worked with have been white people, but I've done some with Black people also. And I think, and stop me if we covered some of this in our last conversation, but I think IFS brings a couple things. One is it reduces the shame that most white people feel, for sure, about acknowledging the fact that they have these little voices inside sometimes that are spouting racist things. Because from the IFS point of view, it's just a part that carries a burden that we all carry. That is what I call the legacy burden of racism that has come from the centuries in which it's been used to justify horrible things that have happened to people of color, and also to kind of comfort ourselves that we deserve the privilege that we have. And so as I've done this with groups, and I've done it mainly with people who consider themselves progressives or liberals, who often initially say, well, I don't have any of that, because to admit that they have it, to their mind, means that they are a racist, which we all are in a sense, but that also in their mind becomes equated with white supremacists, which we all are in a sense, which becomes equated with a member of the KKK or something like that. So to help, and I've done some of this myself, to actually go to those parts with curiosity and to get the parts that feel so ashamed of them, or the parts that feel so sort of hating of the fact that you're this way,